Hi Felix. This video is probably late, as have all my assignments have been this semester, but I hope what you find makes up for it. My project is called StirFry, and I looked into the past, present, and future of a Pan-Asian print publication. For this, I interviewed 4 Asian Americans who are on the front lines of Pan-Asian journalism. Initially, I had 3 research questions. 1. What are the factors inhibiting a successful, long-running Asian and Pacific Islander American print magazine? 2. What do divisions within the Asian culture have to do with the lack of Pan-Asian unity? And lastly, what tactics could be implemented in the future towards a mainstream publication that actually sticks? One thing I found, first and foremost, is that there is great pride in being an Asian American journalist.
When my coworkers or editors, they saw the story, they complimented me and they're like, "Oh, great job. Like, I didn't know this was happening." And I was like, "Of course you didn't know, because it's not in the mainstream media." Like,
when I was in college, I just started getting interested in Asian American media because I realized there was actually such a lack of it out there in the media world.
I feel like it's my duty as an Asian American to really broadcast news that can really showcase our people, and that's really what I strive to do as a journalist.
However, we saw that there's a certain type of unity that the Asian American community is lacking, that publications like Ebony, Jet, and Latina have already captured.
Well, I think that magazines like Latina and Essence, they're doing so well because Essence, take for example, they target a Black community. And in the Black community, it's just one community. And in the Latina community, they're just one community because what gels them all together is their language. They all speak Spanish, and because language is such an important cultural identity facet, I feel that that really makes it cohesive, and it brings the community together into one, not necessarily one culture, but they identify with each other because of the language.
Interviewers believed that the niches within the Asian culture cause a disruption in this unity. But the question is, what's the answer? Do you melt the niches together within the Pan-Asian community to make one publication? Or are the current niches a good thing?
And as you know, Asian communities, we're all kind of separated because we have different languages, we have different foods, and we have a different culture that's really not similar to any of our neighbors.
The main thing to consider is that the reason why people remain in their niche is because an idea of Pan-Asian is unnatural. It doesn't come out. I mean, it's a purely political category, and one that we are invested in because we think that it's helpful for us to gain political more participation.
A magazine was so broad, and they had so many different topics, which was great, but it didn't really home in on one specific community or issue. I feel that Quorium still exists because there's a community that really is passionate about being Korean American, whereas A magazine, it didn't work because there were so many different topics and it was so broad, and it really, in the end, I feel didn't translate to anyone. For a Pan-Asian magazine to succeed, it has to fill a niche that hasn't been there before.
Talking about a whole new niche. But the issue that a lot of failed publications like A Magazine, Yoke, and East West ran into is money. If we did find a way to address the Pan-Asian culture in a way that's not too broad and not too niche, could we convince sponsors and advertisers that it's worth it?
A lot of advertisers say, hey, like, you know, Asians, they're kind of jumbled in with our Caucasian audience, and so we'll just advertise more with L because we know Asians will, you know, purchase L, and we'll advertise more with Vogue because we know Asians and Caucasians, they both like read Vogue.
Their main concern is whether it's even worth it to advertise in print magazines at all.
I almost think it's less about how Asian Americans are doing and more about how print journalism is just suffering in general, you know?
Print publication in general is suffering lack of funds, and so being a niche magazine, that's even tougher because, you know, we have even less to work with.
It's nobody's time.
Yeah.
Ideally, what I would like to see in America today is a Pan-Asian magazine that really is like a Latino or like an Essence, where advertisers can really differentiate that the Asian community really is important, and that we are different. We buy different things, and we're interested in different things.
Or if you want to start a magazine, that's a business. So you need to know, like you need to know, or you need to get somebody who knows business side of it to run it successfully.
So you have to be backed by an institution that believes in the cause of the Pan-Asianness. And I don't think that we would have this opportunity at all if we were outside of the university. And if we did, I don't know how long we would have lasted.
So strong sponsorships and changes in the way that marketers see us are necessary. But what needs to be changed within the covers that other magazines have never done?
The main thing is it's got to be good, right? It's got to be just as good as everything else.
Personally, I take a different approach to this because I'm a writer and editor. I think that there needs to be better writing in Asian American journalism. Smarter, more informed, and more provocative writing.
I feel like if there is going to be a successful one, it needs to definitely serve a purpose more than just being like, hey, we're Asian Americans. They need to, people who want to start one have to think outside the box and be a little more sophisticated.
I don't know, the way I see it is, it comes down to why do we even want the idea of Pan-Asian to begin with? Is that, I mean, why are we even Pan-Asian? Why should we keep insisting on that when like the Korean American one would be more marketable and even more organic? If we have these strong voices, and they can be ridiculous voices, they can be just troubling, offensive, just provocative, controversial voices that everybody wants to read. That can drive an entire Pan-Asian American community to subscribe to something or to come back to it over and over. I don't think we have those kind of like journalist celebrities.
We understand we're Asian, but like, what's more that we can read about? What's more that what's more important? What's the more important issues that we should look out for?
Now, personally, the reason I started this project is because I wanted to see an Asian American publication on the newsstands. Journalists brought up the point that maybe we need to give credit to how long that accomplishment actually takes.
I think that it's not our time to be on, say, like a Barnes & Noble newsstand.
I mean, I would definitely have to say it's time, even though you could say that, like, oh, Ebony and Jen, all those magazines have been on the newsstands for so long. Like, think about how long African Americans have been trying to gain, like, the same type of mainstream power and mainstream appeal as, the rest of America. Maybe in the last, I would say maybe 40, 50 years or something, where people are starting to be like, oh, wait a second, Asian Americans can be in the media, Asian Americans can be in the entertainment industry, and those are all places that they will get more exposure and more have their voice, speak out more. And I think it's only recently that that's been happening. So, I think given over time, then Asian American publications could probably flourish more.
Now, I came upon something that I was not expecting in my interviews and my research. The prospect that maybe people don't even want a Pan-Asian magazine. I'm a magazine lover, but I know not everyone is. As much as I didn't like to ask it, I had to. Do you even want or need a Pan-Asian publication? And are there problems with there being one at all?
Only one or two voices stand for Asian American media, like one or two publications. That's also very troubling. Because then it's concentrated in two publications.
I just feel like a Pan-Asian magazine would definitely only succeed if there was a need for one.
People actually read it?
I'm not sure I would have subscribed to it.
I was going to say that, but I didn't know. I don't know if they cared.
Yeah.
They're going to watch Korean pop videos, are they going to really I don't know how much they care.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I don't want a Pan-Asian publication, but I think it would be much cooler to just have Asian Americans writing everything. You know what I mean? Like having more Asian Americans writing for mainstream publications as well, and having that be so rare.
Of course, all print publications feel the pressure of the internet, but I found that the internet contributes to people's feelings of not needing a print publication at all.
The nature of how we get our news is changing so much.
The magazine's almost obsolete. Mm-hmm. We take our headlines from many different publications and just collect them all.
Yeah.
And our Google readers are magazine. Ours are magazine. On our Google readers, we'll read things and not even know what publication is.
Yeah.
We would read it because of the headline and the story, not really who published this.
Right.
I think you're going to give the people what they want. And if what people want is to be online as opposed to holding the magazine by hand, then as long as you understand that and you can make the transition to that, I think you would be successful.
You look at everything out there, I would just like to see more coverage of Asian Americans on my general news feed. I don't care if it's from a Pan-Asian publication.
However, one thing ran true with all the journalists. While separate, We all have a shared story that we're interested in communicating somehow. While there may not be a great desire for a print publication, there is a desire for some kind of modern medium to connect all Asians on a unique level.
We are separate. We are connected because we all understand the Asian identity, and we all go through mostly the same experiences. And just because we are separate doesn't mean that we aren't similar, and doesn't mean that we have qualities or life experiences that can gel together.
Asian Americans face a certain type of problem because we're a minority, and if you band together, you have a louder voice.
And we do need a Pan-Asian magazine because, I mean, though we are separate, we are equal. When we see someone like Thea on American Idol, I see her and I'm like, she's Asian, I'm totally voting for her. Or if we know that Barack Obama was born in Hawaii, but he like really knows about the Indonesian culture, it's like, oh my gosh, like I feel a part of me is in Barack Obama just because he's Asian. Or if a tsunami or something crazy happens in Japan, it's like, I'm not Japanese, I'm Korean, but those are kind of like my people. They're Asian faces. I really want to help them.
Because when we have more of a voice in the media or in the entertainment industry, I think that's when we will have more pride in being Asian American and more just being like, oh yeah, dude, I would totally want to read a magazine that has my face in it, and that talks about things that I care about, issues that particularly entertain me.
While it stings a little bit for this magazine lover to hear, it's been a great reality check and a much needed glance at my own editorial compass. The medium might change, but the desire to break past mainstream stereotypes using the written word has not died. It's just a matter of reinvention.
I just feel like it's time for us to come together and to recognize the importance of being a cohesive unit. And there's more power in numbers. And if we just all come together, Filipino, Chinese, Indonesian, wherever you're from, and if we recognize that Asians, we have a voice, and we're important in this country, we just really need to come together and be vocal about that. And a publication is kind of where it starts.
Thanks, Teo Felix. See you Friday.